Okay, I'd like to refer to this PDF or part of a book that I have, and just to help me in talking to you about dimensioning. Okay, so basically, if I just zoom into here for a minute, this little diagram is not too bad. It pretty much gives you all the information you need to know about dimensioning, text heights, offsets away from the feature being the model that you're trying to build. You know, how far back do I put my lines, sort of thing, okay? All the information is in that little diagram here. It's pretty good. So if I zoom in here, for example, you know, you might say, okay, well, I want to put a dimension in AutoCAD. You know, when you're dimensioning, you click, you hit the dimension command, whatever it might be. In their case, it would be linear. Click here, click endpoint there. Then it asks you to place a dimension somewhere. So you come along here, click over here. Well, how far back over here do you go? Well, it says here, somewhere between 12 and 15 millimeters is acceptable. So that's your answer. How do you know it's 15 millimeters? Well, if you want to get it exact, what I would do is actually draw a line down here and offset that line 12 or 15 or 13 millimeters, whatever you want. So you got an endpoint to then click on when you're placing the first dimension here. And again, you know, spacing between dimension lines and outline should be equal to and about 12 to 15. Should be equal, not equal to, equal. So whatever you decide, you stick to 12 right through, you know. So then I'll just keep offsetting 15, 15, 15, or 12, or 12, you know. So I have, the pan in this PDF works different to AutoCAD. All right, so, okay, what's the next thing? By the way, if you put the first one right, and the rest you just sort of guessed, there is a command in AutoCAD called dimension spacing, or dim space. Type in dim space, enter, and it will say which is the first line that is correct you want me to base it on, and then it says how far away you're going to put the rest of them. So you say 15 millimeters away, and you click on those ones, and then you'll just space them automatically for you, so that you know, apart, you know, away from this one here, set distance. So even if you get the others wrong, you can fix them in AutoCAD. All right, so figures should be a minimum of 2.5 millimeters high. So yeah, 2.5 millimeters high. Yes, it is minimum. It can be maximum only if you remember that other PDF we were talking about. If you're using AO or BO or A1 or whatever it is, the sizes I think are 3.5 for those. But for A3, A2, A1 even, 2.5 is what we want. All right, figure is normally placed above the line in the direction of the arrowheads and readable from bottom or right hand side. So it's, you know, like this or like this. So you don't have the 25 you know, rotated 180 degrees, for example. That's the wrong way to do it. All right, if the arrowheads don't fit in, you put them outside. AutoCAD has already got that feature where it automatically puts them outside for you. All right, so in the dimension style. Okay, dimension line is drawn parallel to direction of measurement. All right, well, fair enough. Okay, so what else? What else is there that's important? The arrowheads. Where did I see that? This is important. All these have a 1 millimeter gap. When you set your dimension style, there's an option in there to set the gap between the feature and, you know, where the dimension starts. Because when you dimension, you go click, and then click up here to put the dimension, right? It has to know that the actual line starts a millimeter away from the actual feature. There should be a little gap. Hard to achieve, especially on a splay like this one here, for example. So I need to perhaps guide you with that when the time comes. All right. And we have done some recordings last semester. We might do some more on that. Okay, so let's go. What else is that's important? Arrowheads should touch projection line. Yes, that's fine. That happens automatically. I'm looking for here, 2 millimeters past dimension line. This is the sort of stuff you have to input into your AutoCAD to set up your dimension style. Yes, you have to set up a dimension style. If you go and work somewhere else, it'll be already set up for you, so you don't really have to think about it. But it's good to know where it is and how to change it if perhaps they've got it wrong, or if someone asks you to create one, at least you have a reference and of how to do it, using this particular diagram, and also to get the numbers, but also the other workbook will show you where it goes on which dialog box to set it up. All right, so there you go. Arrowheads are drawn open or solid, about 3 millimeters long and 1 millimeter wide. All right. If you set your arrowhead to be 3 millimeters along the horizontal in AutoCAD, the 1 millimeter, and you're using that style, the 1 millimeter will come naturally. It'll just happen. And it says about anyway, so if you're close enough, it's good enough. All right, so you got about, it uses it a lot. Projection lines are thin. All right, are thin and may cross over when necessary. So right here, so this is going across here. So the outline, according to our standard, that should be about 0.5 millimeters thick, so it stands out. And that is a bit of a problem with the book. A lot of the diagrams we've got are all drawn in the same pen thickness, so it's hard to tell which is the bit you're meant to be drawing and which bit is the dimension. Dimension lines, and so it's a good example of how not to do it, basically. This is a better example. You can easily see what you're trying to build. Okay, so I think that's main things on this particular bit here. I have seen it before, and AutoCAD has a feature here which is called Dim Break, where you can select these lines here and it will actually create a little couple millimeter gap between the two of them, but doesn't actually break the line. It's important not to break the dimension lines, because if this extends out this way a bit more, becomes a bit longer, they will update automatically. That number should update. If it doesn't update, you can at least click on it, use the little blue grip, grab it and put it in the new connection, which is now over this to the left, and then it will update the number for you for sure. If you go exploding them and breaking them, then they're basically dumb lines. They're not dimensions, they're not associative. All right, so let me just move on with this one here. We've got, here we go, here's the diameter symbol. It tells you, if you had to draw one, how to draw one and what the proportions are. When we go % D, which is what, C, for the diameter, % C in AutoCAD, you get what you get, basically, with the font size, and that's acceptable. All right, radius, how big it should be, just type a big R and you're done. So this is okay for when guiding someone to do it by hand or use a stencil or something. But this is interesting. I never had to use it myself, but yet I don't do mechanical drawings. But by trade I'm in the architecture. So to indicate that that's 12 square, you put the little square thing around it. Whereas here in the dimension you put the % C. And it says that's a diameter of 12. Radius is like that, of course. All right, so, and there's a few other things here that we don't use as often that you can refer to. That's the angle there. What else have we got? This is interesting here, and this is better shown on the next page. Or if you're into sort of this mechanical stuff and boreholes and counter boreholes, that sort of thing, it shows you how to do them in this page here. Here we are. All right, this one over here, like what these symbols mean. So this will be more useful later on, depending which direction you take. But this is what it looks like in section. So this one here says that it's 12 up the top, and then the depth of it is 10. All right, and it's one of those. That is, there's a name for it, a technical name for it. All right, so you can see here, this one here is a V-shaped one, and that's what it looks like. See that? So that's handy to know where this little page is if you ever need to denote something in AutoCAD. How do you do this little thing in AutoCAD? We'll get to it. Some of these symbols exist in AutoCAD. Some don't. You have to actually physically draw them or create them to show them. All right, so we'll get to that a bit later on, but here's your standard list as such, a bit of a reference to go with. All right, any questions on that? But this little diagram is great for when you're doing dimensions, setting up your dimensions, and always come and refer back to this. All right. Happy with that? Anything you want to add to this? No? All good? That's it? All right. We'll stop.